Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Stummo98, and welcome to Silver. How does he work? Now, don't get too excited. This isn't the Project 06 Silver release just yet. We are still in the Project 06 Shadow release version 1.6, which you can find on Chaos X's YouTube if you're not updated to the newest version. I am just using a mod called the Project 06 Extended mod that allows me to character swap to get characters into sections they're not normally supposed to be in. In this case, we are sitting in Shadows Crisis City Section 2 with Silver. Man, that lizard's really distracting. What the hell? Oh my god. As you can see, sometimes things get a little bit weird when you do stuff with characters when they're not supposed to be in certain sections like this lizard here. But anyway, real quickly, I am going to flash on the screen the section of the game manual that Chaos X made that describes all of Silver's abilities, which I will be demonstrating here in this video for you. But if you would like to read them or need a refresher on what buttons do what, you can go ahead and just look right here. It is for Xbox controller and, you know, the PlayStation controller in some way, like A is X, X is square, that kind of thing. You just have to translate it like that. Keyboard, the controls are a little bit different. I'm not quite sure because I don't play with the keyboard, but I'm sure someone in the comments knows what everything does with the keyboard controls, because I know not everyone has a controller. Regardless, let's get into the action here. So, what Silver can do, firstly, is he can jump and run just like any other character. Chaos in Project 06 actually increases top speed, which is really, really nice, because he was extremely slow in the original game. But if we hold A or press A again while we're in the air, we can levitate. And that uses up our action gauge. If you don't know what the action gauge is or what I'm referring to, I recommend checking out my action bar video. I'll leave a card up top there for you, so you can click onto that. Moving on, so when we levitate with Silver, it uses up the action gauge, and of course we can move in the air while we're levitating. Now, Chaos significantly reduced the time you have to levitate with Silver, and the feathering trick, where you constantly let go and repress A, does not work as well as it did in Retail 06. In Retail 06, you could kind of maintain the same altitude while getting much more distance out of your levitate. Here, you can get more distance, but you can't really stay at the same altitude, even if you press it really, 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 really fast. Kind of like that. Silver just drops too quickly. But thankfully, you know, if there's a really long gap you need to teleport really quickly to, the better way to do it is with Silver's teleport dash. So if you press A twice really quickly in the air, you can use the Heart of Wind, which, since Silver doesn't have his own release yet, all of his abilities are just given to him right here. So any of the upgrades from Retail 06, Silver just has out of the get-go. The Heart of Wind being one of them to initiate a teleport dash just like this. Now, Chaos made a change where instead of the teleport dash having a really short set distance, you can use Silver's teleport dash as long as you have the meter, which is really, really fun for speedrunning, which I particularly really enjoy. It makes Silver a really fast character. Again, you do that by quickly double tapping A while you're in the air. Now, if you're in the air, you can't go from like a hover and then double tap A into a teleport dash. You have to be doing it from the ground, kind of like that. And that's pretty much all of Silver's like movement options, just the jump, the levitate, and the teleport dash. There is one more, but it, you know, requires another ability, which we'll get to in a second. If you press X while you're on the ground or in the air with Silver, you do the Psycho Smash, which most people refer to lovingly as the Pimp Slap, which is what I'm going to refer it to because I think it's really funny to call it that. And what this can do is, if you're near an enemy, say this guy who's kind of been chilling in the background with us the whole time, you smack him. If you get close enough, it might not work. Oh, there we go. Right in the center, it stuns the enemy. Now, obviously, this dude is a little messed up, so the animation's a little bit off. But you can stun an enemy, and wow, things just get weirder and weirder with this lizard. But you can keep stunning him. It doesn't do any damage, but you can also do it in the air to stun as well. And I believe Chaos added a little extra range to this thing, but I'm not entirely sure. And you kind of have to hit an enemy sweet spot, like You've seen hitting the lizard's head doesn't really do anything, but if I get closer to the lizard's like body and tail, it actually stuns him, which is kind of fun and interesting. Now, there's a much better way to do it, but I'm going in order here. So when an enemy is stunned, you can use the right trigger to pick them up. This is Silver's psychokinesis, his main method of attacking enemies and such. You can also pick up other objects like these boxes, as we'll see in the moment. But for the sake of it, we just have this enemy. Your action gauge is paused while you're holding an enemy. It doesn't refill by itself, so this is how much meter you have. You can do like levitations and stuff while you're holding objects or enemies, but again, the bar doesn't refill when you hit the ground once again, so you have to be very careful to conserve your action gauge. Now that we've got this enemy lifted up, how do we get rid of him? Well, we've got one of two ways. The first way is to just press RT again. If you do that, you'll destroy enemies, or if you lift up objects, you can press RT again and it sets them back down. Basically, Silver activating and deactivating his psychokinesis. Now, if you want to do something really fun, what you can do is press RT somewhat quickly. There's a little bit of a rhythm to it, but you see this little pulse come out and Silver's got this really big area of effect here, and that psycho grabs everything that's around him. So as you saw, we lifted all three of these objects at the same time, and you can do that, and it's wonderful. So this is a really cool little thing. I believe you could do this in Retail 06 as well. Chaos just made it a little bit more accessible. Again, if you're holding objects, you can just press RT again really quickly to set them back down, just like that. When you have an object or an enemy lifted in the air, the other way to get rid of it is to throw it at something. So as you can see, and this is a custom option you can do in Project 06's extras menu, I have this little reticle activated. And what that does is show me when I throw this object, what it's going to be thrown at, which is at this moment, the Iblis lizard. So if we hold X here, the same button that we use for the pimp slap, while we're holding an object and release it, it throws the object at the enemy. Now that was just a wooden box, so it didn't really do a whole lot of damage. But that's basically the point, is you can stun an enemy with the pimp slap here, pick them up, and destroy the truck, I guess, and toss it at a different enemy, destroying both of them. Really fun way to get rid of enemies, in my personal opinion. Another way you can stun enemies is if you press the B button. This is a new move for Project 06, and it's Silver's psychic shot. So he just manifests a little bit of his psychic energy, concentrates it into a blast, and shoots it. That stuns enemies, and if you shoot it again while an enemy is stunned, it does damage. So it does 1 bar of damage, so if I stun this worm and that worm, and then hit it one more time, you can see from the health bar, not quite while they're stunned, because, you know, fun stuff, but just trust me with that, this enemy has lost 1 part of its HP. Now, a fun thing to do with the Psychokinesis Grab All that I showed earlier by pressing RT twice is if you hold X and then release it, you actually throw all the objects you're holding at once, which is really cool. So if I want to get rid of these worms, I can go ahead and do a Psycho Grab All, hold X, and fire, and it releases all of the objects at once, kind of just like that. Another way we can stun enemies and take care of them, and probably the best way, is another one of Silver's upgrades from Retail 06, but like I said, in Project 06, Silver has all of his upgrades from the get-go, is if we jump in the air, whoops, not into the enemy, jump into the air, and then press X, we do the, I believe this is called the Psycho Shock. Yes, it's called the Psycho Shock. So what this does is this stuns enemies in a wide area. You can see that Chaos added this little ripple effect off of Silver to kind of show the area in which enemies get stunned. And you can stun multiple enemies at once. You don't have to just, you know, do this to stun one enemy, but you can stun multiple enemies, which is absolutely amazing. And then pick them up and get rid of them in whatever method you choose. I'm going to go ahead and take a death to respawn these enemies real quick because we are not quite done with them. So to do a little bit better of a demonstration of the Psycho Shock, right here, we can stun that guy and then stun that guy. And then you don't have to do the Psychokinesis Grab All to grab multiple enemies. You can just... Oh man, these lizards are really having a field day here. what you can do is, well, it's not going to do it there because, of course, I'm trying to demonstrate it, but I'll just demonstrate it with these boxes. If you hold RT as you're moving, and it doesn't work for everything like I showed, but with like objects and stuff, it's a lot easier. If I'm holding RT and running forward, I'll pick up whatever's in front of me as long as I have action gauge to do so. Like I said, the action gauge is kind of Silver's limiter on his abilities. So, you know, grab one box, hold RT, picks up the rest of the boxes if I'm close enough to them. Kind of like that, so you don't have to stop in your tracks and do the psychokinesis grab all because you can't actually move while you're doing that ability. And if you forget which ability I'm talking about this one. See, I'm moving the control stick and Silver doesn't move. If you've played Breath of the Wild, you know the ability Magnesis. Psychokinesis kind of behaves in that way, in that we can actually manipulate the objects, and as we're moving with Silver, as we can push enemies, we can, you know, make them do just a whole bunch of silly things with the objects that we're holding. If you were holding, say, a spike ball, you could actually damage enemies by moving back and forth quickly enough. Now, unfortunately, I can't do it with this box right here, but with the spike balls, like in Silver's section of Shadow's aquatic base, you can actually damage enemies by doing that. One other movement option that we have with Silver is that if we have an object that we can pick up with our psychokinesis and we press RT on top of it, we can actually lift it into the air a bit and move it around as long as we have meter. So we just press RT, come up here, move it with the meter just like that. Really, really, really cool stuff. There's a little bit of a bug you can do, that if you're holding RT while the object is moving up and you jump off of it after letting go, Silver actually gains a bunch of height. This is kind of his version of the high jump, which is a glitch I'm actually going to be covering in the next video. Spoilers, I guess. But so while the object is moving upward, if you jump off of it, Silver gets some extra height there. I guess just a little bit of a momentum bug, I suppose. I'm sure it'll be fixed in the next release. And yeah, that is pretty much every single thing that Silver can do, at least currently in Project 06's Shadow release. So that's the end of the video here. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Excited, we are not in Silver's release yet in Project. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the lizard in that car back there. What the hell? What is going on?